now is around and is addressing the people. So sorry, Muloko, we're going to have to leave you there and take our viewers live to that briefing by Panyaza Lesufi.
Himself to come here. You're quite aware that he was set to address the nation, and he has decided to postpone that session and prioritize this area, for which we are strengthened by that. There are some proposals that we've already given to the President on how we can manage this situation. Hopefully when he arrives here, we'll be in a position to take those discussions further. And then hopefully it will also assist us to find a solution to this serious disaster. The city is having their own briefing. We're working together with them. It's just the technical aspect of everything. The police have just given me a briefing. I got 4 briefings since this morning from the MEC responsible for health, in terms of those that are injured and those that are at the mortuary, and also the identification process of families. I also got a report from the MEC responsible for human settlement. He was here this morning. He gave a full detail on how we think that we should assist those that are homeless as we speak. And thirdly, I got a full report from the MEC responsible for social development in terms of human support. It can be clothing, food, and other related matters. And the last report, I'll be receiving it from the mayor of the city on whatever that the city believes that needs to be attended to. But we will wait and request you that let's wait for the President to arrive, and we will then brief the President. And out of that briefing, we are told by the engineers that are responsible for this that it's extremely difficult for us to go in now. The place is still hot, and it's only after possibly tonight that they will be in a position to advise us further. But we will brief the President and we will take it from there.
Premier, just I think more personally, do you know how many people are displaced? What's going to happen to them tonight? And have you been briefed on maybe what caused this fire?
Yes. Well, the cause of the fire, it's one area that I took discussions with the President on how to work around that aspect, and also the affected individuals, how best to give them immediate support. We've started to accumulate some form of experience from what happened in East Rand, what happened in Bree Street. So there's some systems and mechanisms that have already put in place. But until we agree, because the President is coming, so we don't want to preempt or prejudge that. I had to brief the mayor to leave his session so that he can come to welcome the President as well. So as soon as the city also deposits their reports, and then we'll deposit it to the President, and we'll be guided on how best to deal with this matter. But we are sending our sincerest condolences to the families and relatives, and we want to assure them from all levels of government, national government, provincial government, and local government, we will provide all the necessary support that is needed. And after we've consolidated and briefed the President, and the President will guide us on how to take this process forward.
Premier, we're hearing reports that there are those who have refused to go to the places that have been set aside as temporary accommodation in the meantime. What will happen to those people?
I don't want to enter into details on those matters. As I said, this report was just deposited to us. Our task is to brief the President and then get guidance from there. So it's just to wait for the President to arrive, give guidance, and then we'll be in a position to then take it from there. But we just want to bring all form of support that this government can offer to the victims, those that are in pain, and those that will need us to console and provide them with the necessary care. So we can confirm those aspects from the experience that we've developed from previous incidents. We will be in a position to provide that support. But for now, it's just to prepare for the President to arrive, brief the President, get guidance, and then the President will share how this process will be taken forward.
Premier, these are a hijacked building which seemingly is being allowed to happen. These people are paying rent from 700 Rand to 1,500 Rand. They have landlords. And this is just one building of hundreds of buildings. Surely that shouldn't be the case. It's seemingly allowed to happen. Why isn't a whip being cracked on such buildings?
I refuse to dwell into those issues until we have briefed the head of state. I think let's respect the head of state. This is part of the report that we've received. Let's deposit it to the head of state, and the head of state must guide us. Whatever guidance, whatever question that we have after that, we'll be in a position to respond to it. But it's part of the aspects that need our immediate attention. I was addressing the legislature this morning, and I've expressed my view on how our cities, our CBDs, and it's not only this CBD. You go to various CBDs in our province. They're completely under control of people that are not adhering to laws of this particular country. But I don't want to prejudge. Let's allow those that are given the mandate to deal with this matter, give us that mandate, give us the report, deposit it in our briefing to the president, and out of that, we'll be in a position to then attend to you and respond to those issues that you want us to attend to.
All right. Thank you, Premier of Gauteng. Panyaza Lesufi saying that they'll have to wait for the president. But I think maybe the mayor even may be in a position to answer. Mayor, sorry, I need to ask you that question as the custodian of the city of Johannesburg. This building has people paying landlords various amounts from 700 Rand to 1,500 Rand, some of the people, the tenants that stay in this one particular building. Surely that's lawlessness that's seemingly allowed to happen. How so? Why isn't the whip being cracked on such buildings? And maybe how many buildings do you have like this in Johannesburg?
Good afternoon to your viewers, and good afternoon to yourself. What I would not want to do is speak over what the Premier has already alluded to. But equally as important is the fact that our MMC of Public Safety addressed the issue this morning. We have an operation called Safer City, and in that operation we focus on building compliance. There is a building that we had started with, two of them in particular. I won't make reference to it because in the process of us conducting our responsibilities, there are certain NGOs, and I don't want this to appear as if it's a blame game, but the city is under heavy litigation. There are a number of litigations that the city needs to adhere to. So if we continuously being stifled by our democracy through various stakeholders, it becomes a challenge even for the city. That's why when I left the other session, I had alluded to the fact that we are going to engage in intergovernmental discussions so that we can acquire the necessary...
There can't be discussions at this stage. Sadly, we're just being told we have to move out of the way. The president is on his way any minute now, but surely there can't be backroom discussions still when there are landlords that are receiving money from tenants on buildings that, particularly this one owned by the city of Johannesburg, yet nothing is being done to crack the whip on that brazen criminality brought down. So we wait for the president. We are told president is coming any moment now. I'm even trying to look for those convoy, the presidential protection unit that accompanies the president on such. But you heard Premier Panyaza Lesufi can't give much word up until he also gets to brief the president. We know that the president, of course, wanting that briefing on what may have occurred, on what steps have been taken, and maybe more importantly, especially at this stage, what support will be given to those that are left destitute. And we heard that number from the gift of the givers, at least 400 plus that have been left homeless by the fire that engulfed this building in the city of Johannesburg in the early hours of this morning.
Yeah, our viewer, we're going to have to keep you online as we talk about other aspects while we wait for the arrival, now the impending arrival, it seems, the impending arrival of the president there. You were also speaking to that other people earlier from different parts of South Africa and different parts of Malawi. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen next. But that building that the cameraman is showing us now will remain closed because it is unsafe.
Definitely brought down at this stage, and I've actually been just crisscrossing around the building itself, trying to speak to various people. On the other side of the building, you'll find that some of the tenants are still actually trying to make their way inside. They're saying that they have belongings. For example, some of their particular dwellings weren't burnt by the fire. They say that they want to take things like Pampers. You understand, a lot of children, of course, that also have been left homeless here. So they're saying that they need their belongings, some of which they want to help those that lost everything in those fires, but they aren't being granted access, which will speak to that question of the building itself being closed up until further notice. We do know that over there, that's been cordoned off, barricaded by the police, is the active crime scene. It's the sad sight that where dozens of these bodies were laying in the early hours of the morning, covered with that silver, I'm not sure what to call it, but that silver covering that one normally sees when a deceased person has been covered officially by the forensic. Those bodies were laying there, Bradan. Now we do know it's 74 people that have lost their lives in this fire. We do know 10 of them are unidentified, burnt beyond recognition, but there were 24 females and there were at least 40 males that lost their lives in this fire as well. I've been speaking to a lot of people, as you've been mentioning, Bradan, some of them from the Malawi Society, who tell me that they've done a count of their own, and from the 74 that has lost their life here, at least 20 are from Malawi. They're still looking for 5 people from Malawi, and 5 of them are in hospital at this stage. You heard those conversations, Bradan, with even one of the ladies that was looking for a friend that had actually lost their lives. It was a scramble, Bradan, to get out of this 5-story building in the early hours of the morning, as that fire that's still been unexplained at this stage was engulfing this building. We're told some of the people were actually jumping from the top floor as they desperately tried to escape those raging flames that were raging in the early hours from at least 1:30, Bradan. So now the president is still going to be briefed, given an update on what's happened, and more importantly, the support that is still going to be given here, because as much as entities like the Gift of the Givers have given blankets, have given beds, have given food, there's still the issue around shelter and what's going to happen to the at least 400 that's been left destitute here.
Yeah, and one of the issues that was raised there with Panyaza Lesufi a short while ago was what's going to happen. Apparently, there are reports that a number of people who lived in that building, who survived this fire, are refusing to go into the alternative places of accommodation, the temporary shelters. It's going to be interesting what's going to happen to them because they have nowhere to go.
Definitely, Bradan, it's going to be interesting. Given that, of course, they've lost their livelihoods inside this building. But one of those answers that we didn't get from the Premier, as the Premier suggested that he'd have to follow the proper protocol. And, of course, first brief the President himself, President Cyril Ramaphosa, as he's making his way this side. I'm actually seeing Michael Sanya, I'm not sure if he can give us much. He was heading infrastructure around Johannesburg. I'm sorry, I have to ask you about these buildings. They are hijacked buildings. You were part of governance of the city of Johannesburg. I'm sure you have an idea of how many of such buildings. This is just one of them. And why is it being let to happen? Because seemingly the city's leaving it to happen, as these people are paying tenants, paying to landlords, and it's seemingly happening so brazenly.
Well, certainly it's very sad to see. The loss of 74 lives is not anything just to blink at and say, whose fault is it? We certainly need to take joint responsibility, whether you're in political parties, organizations. This has not happened yesterday, and so-called hijacked buildings has been in the city for many, many, many years. It's been allowed to happen. What I think should be done is that we need to now go and identify what are the problem spots. I mean, just a block away, there's another dangerous building that could, go on fire next day, all we know. So we certainly need to take care of the situation. We cannot allow this to happen again. 74 lives, it's just too devastating.
74 lives, definitely too devastating, as of course we wait for President Cyril Ramaphosa to be received here by the Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, as he's doing that oversight visit.
Thank you very much, Aviwe Mtila. There, just around the corner there, Delvas and Albert Street, the scene of that devastating fire. The president is on his way there, and I'm sure my colleague Sally Badet in SA Tonight in a short while will take you back there soon as, of course, Matamela Ramaphosa speaks about this tragedy. It's a dark day for Johannesburg.